There's already a group in New York, and they've sent some emissaries here to support us, and we want to sort of replicate the good organizing they're doing up there. So in addition to gathering at DOJ, another thing we do is we go to the home of Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General, who lives in Bethesda, Maryland, and do a peaceful vigil across from his home. And that was started by Paula. We're now doing it twice a month. So
this way?
look at the first,
Like center frame here.
Sunday,
You see what I mean? Like here.
weeks and so forth
So-
to go to the home of Merrick Garland. It's actually very close to the Bethesda Metro, so it's very easy to get to. And join us there. We usually do it like 5 to 7 p.m. So we want to plug that today. Anyone who's with the DC group, Martha, Anna, who else is in our group? David. All of you are really, Lucy, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for organizing our DC group. And Kathy Boylan, of course. Everybody here is a great organizer, so I don't want to start delineating anyone. We just want to kick it off to Leo, who's going to lead our program today, but we do want you to be sure to sign up to be part of our Action for Assange group.
Make sure you don't panic.
Leonardo Flores. He's the Latin American policy expert and the campaign coordinator for Code Pink. He worked as an analyst on the U.S.-Venezuelan relations and was born in Venezuela. He has spoken on behalf of Venezuelan diplomat Alex Saab, who is currently a political prisoner, imprisoned in the U.S. Leo always shows up and speaks up for Julian Assange. Leo will introduce our speakers.
Thank you so much, Martha. And I'm going to ask our speakers to kind of stand here so that we can get some good footage for the streaming online. As Martha said, my name is Leonardo Flores. I'm with Code Pink. It's a real honor to be here to speak in solidarity for Julian Assange and to say no to his extradition. You know, I'm going to read a few names right now. We have Shireen Abu Akleh, Francisca Sandoval, Yesenia Mollinedo, Sheila Joana Garcia, Luis Enrique Ramirez. These are 5 journalists that have been killed in the last month alone. And I'm mentioning them because it's important to keep them in our minds, but also to draw the direct connection to Julian Assange. Because Julian Assange is facing 175 years in prison. I mean, what the US is seeking, it's a death sentence. And so we're talking about a government that's prosecuting a man that they plotted to kill in an embassy, that they plotted to kill in another country. So our country, the DOJ, Department of Justice, now thinks it has the authority to just murder anyone, anywhere in the world, with total impunity, and they've been acting on that authority for the entire war on terror and before that as well. And for what? What's Julian's supposed crime? Well, there's no crime at all. All Julian did was expose the truth. He exposed the truth about US war crimes and how the United States has tried to cover those war crimes up. He exposed the truth of mass violations of human rights, of crimes against humanity that have killed tens of thousands of children, women, and men. He exposed the truth about the United States kidnapping people and torturing people and how they institutionalized torture. He exposed the truth about how the US has bribed foreign officials, about how they've bullied smaller countries, how they've corrupted legal systems in countries that are supposed to be allies of the United States. Assange exposed the truth about murdered journalists. He's exposed the truth about death squads, and that's why they're going after him, because the United States is embarrassed about this truth. They don't want the world to know, and Assange was one of those truth tellers. And we're always going to stand here for Assange, saying no to his extradition, and if he does get extradited, we hope that this movement will get bigger and bigger to stand out in front of the courthouse wherever he's tried, to let the world know that people in this country care about the truth, they care about Julian Assange, they care about journalism and defending free speech. Right now there's a bill in Congress that would give the US jurisdiction over non-citizens in cases involving atrocities. And that, again, the US acting like it's the world's self-appointed policeman. A police force that has absolutely no oversight, that can act anywhere in the world. Julian was not just one of the victims there, he's one of the first victims of this new global police state. And when we talk about Julian, we also should, of course, keep in mind other political prisoners like Daniel Hale, like Alex Saab, like Mumia Abu-Jamal, like Leonard Peltier. Free them all! I'm going to open it up by inviting Lucy Murphy and several members of the Black Workers Center Choir to join us in a song. And I will bring the mic over here.
Thank you, Leonardo Flores. I'm very pleased to be here with May Lee and Amal, and we are going to hopefully get you all to sing with us. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. No, 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 no small verán. No, 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 no small verán como un árbol firme junto al río. No nos moverán. Freedom for a sign. We shall not be moved. Freedom for a sign. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Liberen a Julián, no nos moverán. Liberen a Julián, no nos moverán como un árbol firme junto al río. No nos moverán. Freedom for Lumia, we shall not be moved. Freedom for Lumia. Like a tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be moved. Liberen a Lumia, no nos moverán. Liberen a Lumia, no nos moverán como un árbol firme, firme junto al río. No nos moverán. The people are united. The people are united. We shall not be moved. The people are united. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. El pueblo está unido. No nos moverán, el pueblo está unido, no nos moverán como un árbol firme junto al río, no nos moverán. United in the struggle, we shall not be moved. United in the struggle, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. None of us are free. 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 If one of us is chained, none of us are free. If you stick around, we're going to do that one later.
Thank you, Lucy, Melissa, and everyone else who joined us in the song. Up next, who would you like to sing? Right here?
Whatever you want.
Up next, we have Esther Iver. Come join us. Esther is an artist, author. Iver. I apologize. Esther Iver, artist, author, and independent journalist. She's the creator, producer, and host of On the Ground, Voices of Resistance from the Nation's Capital on Pacifica Radio, which offers excellent weekly updates on local and global news. Today the show's coverage of the continuing war on information in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, national abortion rights, labor, and people's movements. Esther was the founder of the pioneering cloud website seeingcloud.com and a founding member of DC Posts Against the War / Split This Rock. It's no surprise that Esther's art and books are about social justice, human existence, and the environment. You can find Esther's creative work at our website, legacyquiltsandart.com. Welcome, Esther. Thank you.
Hey, Esther! Yeah.
Thank you. I am honored to be here, and I just wanted to say good afternoon to everybody. I'm really honored to be here to stand up for Julian Assange and to demand that Merrick Garland drop all charges against him and release him, because we know that the UK is only jailing him, imprisoning him on behalf of our country. And we have to stand here today and say, not in our name. Not in our name. We are journalists, we are press advocates, we are citizens who demand that the First Amendment be protected, that the right for free speech be protected, and that this government does not prosecute a journalist in our name. I mean, I've never lived in a time where truth has been so under attack to the point that it's ridiculous, so that people can't even tell the truth about this country being founded on racism and genocide and slavery. There are laws in many states so that it's illegal to teach our children true American history. It's illegal for protesters sometimes to even take to the streets. So many states have laws where it's legal for a motorist to strike you and hit you or even kill you because you're out marching in the street for your rights. We have a situation right now where our government is forming a disinformation board, disinformation governance board to, I don't know what to do, but it is not to give the people the right to hear the truth. We are funding a war in Ukraine that is being fought in part by Nazis, and yet press that tells the truth about this are shut down, they're marginalized, they are deplatformed, demonetized. I know there are many people out here right now who have had their platforms, their livelihoods as journalists threatened and destroyed because the government wants to tell us what to think, and they want to control what we think, and what news we can hear, what facts we can hear. So I just want to say that as a citizen, as a journalist, that not in my name, that I demand that the charges against Julian Assange be dropped, because Julian Assange basically told the truth. He told the truth about the war in Iraq. He told the truth about war crimes that this country was committing in Iraq and Afghanistan and really all over the world. Things aren't even called war crimes. But if you're living in Haiti, or if you're living in many parts of the global south that we don't even get covered in this country, we know that there's been a war on people of color around this world, black and brown populations, and whose deaths don't even make the news, okay? And when they talk about the shooter in Buffalo, they don't want to talk about how he was wearing some of the same Nazi insignia on his clothing that the soldiers in Ukraine are wearing, all right, that we're funding and that we are supporting. So these are the types of things that aren't coming out. And if we had journalists courageous enough who aren't afraid to speak out, we would hear more of this news. The other thing I want to say is that the last thing I want to say is in terms of my colleagues in corporate media. It is not, you're not doing any favors to the American people by keeping truth from them. And when we get to the point where our jobs and our livelihood is more important than telling the truth, then I wonder why we came into journalism in the first place, okay? So anyway, solidarity with everyone out here, standing up for Julian Assange. Merrick Garland, drop the charges against Julian Assange, release him, all power to the people.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Esther. Up next, we have Louis Wolfe. In 1978, Louis co-founded and co-published the Covert Action Information Bulletin, which originally was a watchdog journal that focused on the abuses and activities of the CIA. The magazine developed a following for its reliable, consistent, and accurate investigative reporting. In 2018, after a 13-year hiatus, Lou helped launch Covert Action magazine, and the new expanded team is knocking it out of the park with coverage of war, covert action, intelligence, political economy, imperialism, labor, repression, and surveillance. Thank you very much for being here, Lou.
Thank you, thank you. You know, it's really amazing what brings us together today. It's another crime in a long continuum of crimes by this country, around the world, that believes that we are preeminent, we are special. As Barack Obama once said, we are special, we Americans. And this is the doctrine which is taught in all high schools, in colleges, even in lower schools, and in churches, and in the military. That we are exceptional. Again, Biden, Obama's own words. But what I want to discuss today quickly is Julian's case. He was, let's face it, he was born in 1957. So he is now 51 years old. I'm sorry, he was born in 1971, 51 years old. If he is extradited to the United States and is sentenced to 175 years, this means that he will be 226 years old. Think about that. Needless to say, it's not just a life sentence, it's a sentence of that this country, only this country can conceive of such an outrage. He's been in Belmarsh prison, a hellhole by all descriptions, in London. He's been there over 3 years. The claim is that he is thinking of suicide. We don't think that's really fact. That's propaganda, again, coming out of this building, out of the White House, out of the CIA. He was charged as in the terms of the CIA, as a terrorist. Some of the headlines about his case were, is he a hero or is he a villain? Another headline, journalist or terrorist? These are quotes from the major media. It so happens that the former director of the CIA said he is, quote, a terrorist by another name. He's a journalist, but he really is a terrorist. Shame on you.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Julian was thanked WikiLeaks for exposing, among other things, the Afghan war logs in November 2010. He also was responsible for releasing the video that showed from a helicopter above shooting at journalists in Iraq. And when they sought to help their people who were shot, they were shot. And there was 2 children who were shot on the ground. Then, of course, we must not forget Vault 7, the CIA's top secret Vault 7, which included the reports on WikiLeaks, and Vault 7 included thousands of documents of how the CIA was intruding on journalism, including the Washington Post, the New York Times, the LA Times, and the others. It was called CIA hacking tools, and that was part of what was exposed. Now, the British chief magistrate, her name is Lady Emma Arbuthnot, has links to British intelligence, to the British military, and her son Alexander Arbuthnot, has founded a company with help from the CIA. In fact, at least former CIA people helped to found this company called Dark Trace. Just think about that one. So let's be clear here what we're here for. To call on Merrick Garland to release him. He does not belong in Belmarsh prison one more day. And of course, Merrick Garland and the CIA would say, release him, we'll bring him here. No, that's not a solution for that issue. Let me also quickly say that this is about the plot by the CIA and by the FBI, but particularly the CIA, to kidnap him, to rendition him, using the CIA's own language, to poison him, and to kill him. This was exposed by Yahoo News. It was a 3-year investigation that they conducted with hundreds of former CIA and other people that had first-hand knowledge. So who should be charged here? It's not Julian Assange. It's be the U.S. government for a plot to kill Julian Assange. It's time that the U.S. government pay for its crimes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lou. Up next, I'm going to invite Chip Gibbons to speak. Chip is an expert on U.S. constitutional law, a journalist and researcher focusing on the U.S. national security state, as well as a longtime activist. He's the policy director of Defending Rights and Dissent, where he has advised both state and federal lawmakers on the First Amendment implications of pending legislation. He's frequently cited on the history of FBI political surveillance and the impact of the Espionage Act on press freedoms. Chip's interviews and articles analyzing the cases of Julian Assange and Daniel Hale have pointed out the various violations of human rights and the serious blow against democracy, as the U.S. government prosecutes and imprisons our principled heroes for telling the truth about the brutality of U.S. wars. Chip is currently working on a book titled The Imperial Bureau on the History of the FBI, exploring the relationship between domestic political surveillance and the emergence of the U.S. national security state. Give it up for Chip Gibbons.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone. My name is Chip Gibbons. I'm with Defending Rights and Dissent, an organization that defends your right to know and freedom to act. For 12 years, we've monitored and mobilized against the U.S. government's war on WikiLeaks. And I can tell you without hesitation, Julian Assange is a political prisoner. Since WikiLeaks revealed the truth about U.S. foreign policy, working with mainstream newspapers to do so, the U.S. government has waged an all-out vendetta on everyone involved. They arrested and tortured the whistleblower who gave the information, Chelsea Manning. And although Chelsea Manning pled guilty to charges carrying 20 years in prison, they court-martialed her under the Espionage Act and for aiding the enemy in hopes of getting a life sentence. Chelsea Manning has did more time in prison than anyone else ever has for giving information to the news media. The FBI got in the case after the DOJ asked them to. They pushed the DOJ to file charges. They illegally entered the nation of Iceland under false pretenses. They seized the Twitter accounts, not just of Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning, but of a sitting member of the Icelandic parliament. They've seized the Gmail accounts of multiple journalists. And then we have the CIA and the NSA, who have thought up all of these different designations like information broker, malicious foreign actor, non-state hostile intelligence agency, to try to justify waging war on journalists and hiding what they are doing. And we also know the CIA plotted to kidnap and kill Julian Assange. So for these reasons, we're calling on Priti Patel, the UK Home Secretary, to block the extradition. But the truth of the matter is that she shouldn't have to do anything at all, because the people in the building behind me could end all of this the stroke of a pen today, and it would not be a fringe move, it would not be a radical move. There are many, many things about the Obama administration I dislike. The escalation of the terrorist drone wars, the extrajudicial execution of a U.S. citizen, the use of the Espionage Act to go after whistleblowers, but both Obama and Holder balked at the idea of prosecuting Julian Assange because they knew it would set a precedent that could be used against journalists broadly. The intelligence agencies were so furious about this that we know the FBI and the CIA requested a personal meeting with Barack Obama to try to get him to sign off on their plans to go after Julian Assange. So what we're asking Merrick Garland to do today is just do what Obama did. Drop these charges, end this war on journalism, and I would also hope they'd go even farther than Obama and stop using the Espionage Act against whistleblowers and pardon Daniel Hale, who is right now in a communications management unit, unable to communicate with the outside world for the grave crime of letting us know that during one U.S. campaign in Afghanistan, 90% of those murdered by U.S. airstrikes were not the intended target. Free Daniel Hale, free Julian Assange, end the war on journalism and whistleblowers. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chip. Up next, it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Marcia Coleman-Adebayo to speak. Dr. Coleman-Adebayo is a whistleblower herself, having blown the whistle on a mine in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken, that was causing massive damage to the environment and to the people's health. She won a historic lawsuit against the EPA, where she was a former senior policy analyst. The lawsuit was on the basis of race, sex, color discrimination, and as well as a hostile work environment. She ushered the No Fear bill through Congress, which was signed into law by President George W. Bush and has benefited thousands of workers and their families directly. Dr. Coleman-Adebayo is the founder of the No Fear Coalition. It's a grouping of civil rights and whistleblower organizations that fight for increased legislative protections for federal employees. And as you can see on her t-shirt, she's also the president of the Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition. Really important movement happening here locally. Get involved if you can. Thank you so much, Dr. Coleman-Adebayo.
Thank you so much. First of all, greetings from the Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition. You should know that we consider ourselves whistleblowers because we are blowing the whistle on the corruption in Montgomery County. And more importantly, we stand with Julian and all whistleblowers. Yes. I'm a whistleblower. I blew the whistle on the Environmental Protection Agency because they were killing people in South Africa. They were killing people in the mines in South Africa. And when I, like Julian, raised this issue in certain circles, I was also told to shut up because that's what whistleblowers are told. Whistleblowers, initially I warned, if you continue along this path, it's not going to end well for you. And like so many of my colleagues, we had to make that midnight decision. When you're sitting up at night and you're wondering, what in the hell am I about to do? And you make the decision based on your conscience. You make the decision based on the fact that you cannot live with a lie. That it is more important for you to stand up for the truth than it is for you to have a career, or for you to have a lot of money, or for you to have a lot of fame. And Julian Assange made that decision in his midnight hour. And he was going to tell the truth about U.S. imperialism, and he has paid a very dear price for it. But more importantly, what is the message that is being sent out to other people throughout the country, throughout the world, about the cost of blowing the whistle? That is the chilling effect. Because everyone knows now that if you blow the whistle, that's the end of your career. But the Julian Assange situation also says not only is it the end of your career, it is the end of your life. It is the end of your life. And so when I was, working at EPA, of course I thought about Karen Silkwood, because she also had to face that midnight hour. What was she going to do in terms of exposing the nuclear industry? And she also made the right decision. Julian made the right decision. He made the right decision to step forward and to and to tell the truth about the United States government. And that is, in fact, the challenge that we all face, that we must tell the truth, because if we don't tell the truth, then the people behind these walls are free to carry out the most despicable and murderous acts throughout the entire world. So we stand with Julian Assange, and we ask everyone to do so. And if Julian is extradited, then we can all say that we are Julian Assange, because we will be next. We will be next. So anyone who believes in press freedom and who opposes imperialism must be a staunch Assange defender. You have to be a staunch Assange defender, because WikiLeaks revealed U.S. crimes committed around the world. So, so I just had to be here today, because I know how the cost of being a whistleblower, the cost to your life, to your family, to your community. And I think we all need to, at some point, identify in a very personal way with being a whistleblower, because we are all Julian Assange. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Coleman-Adebayo. Up next, I'd like to invite Randy Credico to speak. And before I do, I want to just give a quick shout out to the New York City Free Assange organization. They always come down here. They're always here in DC, showing a lot of support and solidarity for Julian. Randy Credico is a political satirist, comedian, a radical activist, stand-up comic, former candidate for senator, mayor, and governor of New York, and the former director of the William Moses Kunstler Fund for Racial Justice. Randy spent 4 years in Julian, Texas, bringing national attention to a racially charged mass drug arrest. In 1992, Randy began a campaign against New York State's harsh Rockefeller drug laws. Randy currently hosts Live on the Fly and the Assange Countdown to Freedom shows. Before Julian was dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy by British police, Julian used to phone in live from London for interviews on Randy's Live on the Fly radio show. Now Randy is on and off the air. He actively organizes public support for Julian. His most recent shows have been with Stand Up for Assange shows at Tabard Inn. He's really a hero for many of us activists, and he's been in the fight for his entire life, and he's really hilarious as well. Welcome, Randy.
Yes, Randy. Somebody write down that introduction so I can use it in my next bio. Leo Flores, Code Pink, you guys do the great work, man. And you've been wonderful today, Leo. I just want to first begin by thanking those in DC, the organizers of this event, because this is a very good sign. What I see today, the initial voyage of this new group organizing and putting this together, as you can see, we've got a lot of people here today, and Chuck and I and Bernadette from NYC Free Assange said, we got to go down there. We got to go down there for the very first one. So I left at 7 o'clock in the morning in New York, and he said, I'm going to leave at 8:15. I said, all right, you might be late. And of course, his train got stuck somewhere between Maryland and the next stop, but we made it just in time. This is, by the way, Sophia. Sophia is a gift from Roger Waters. I had a dog that for 16 years, Bianca, who has been here before. She did almost every event that I did on Assange, my radio shows, podcasts, and rallies. And so she died in December, and I was very crestfallen. And Roger said, I'm going to get you a fucking dog. And this is Sophia, and she's very excited to be here today. And I bring up Sophia because I did visit Assange 3 times back in 2017. You don't believe it, just go to the UC Global website. And when I visited Assange, we didn't talk about anything except for food, baseball, cricket. It was, we were just having a great conversation. We talked about history, talked about the abolition movement in the United States, and he talked about dogs, how much he missed his dogs. I mean, I went like 4 months without a dog, and I nearly went nuts. How much he has what's called blue heelers back in Australia, and he was so smitten with those dogs. And on top of this, his mother, Christine, his father, John, his brother, Gabriel, his wife, Stella, and his 2 kids. Been separated from them for the last 3 years in this dungeon. It's really like the Tower of London on the ground floor. It's a torture chamber. He's got to listen to all of this noise, all this gentle man. Anybody who watches any of the, I didn't write anything, so I'm making this up off the top of my head. No, anybody who watches him or listens to him, you can see how harmless he is. What a peaceful individual he is, the humanity of this man. The only person, the only entities that he's harmful for are those who are harmful to everybody else. And that would be the DOJ, the CIA, the MI5, the MI6, and the rest of them, all right? He's dangerous. They don't want him out there talking because he exposed all the crimes that they have committed over the last 10 years and before that. So, what else? You said so much, Lou. By the way, I met in 1986. I go way back. It was in Cambridge, I believe. There was a benefit for Bill and Ellen were there for Covert Action Magazine. Right? Where was it? That was like, we've been doing this shit for 36 years now. Amazing. And that was great. Good to see you here, Lou. You guys do great work. And you mentioned Tuya, Texas. That's where I'll go, because we have a lot of speakers. Someone mentioned Tuya, Texas. You mentioned that, Leo. I was there back in 2000. There was a letter from a preacher down there, Charles Kuiper, saying, American, 10% of the black population has been arrested in a town of 5,000. 50 African Americans were arrested for drug dealing. And they were all getting like 50, 60, 80-year sentences. And the guy who did it was an ex-Klansman. He planted everything. He wrote stuff down on his leg. And we spent the Kunstler Fund went down there. Margaret Kunstler got the letter. She said, go down there. And so Sarah, her daughter, and I went down there. And we spent 3, almost 4 years organizing, getting local lawyers for the 2 outstanding defendants that were on the run, getting a relief fund, creating a group there called the Tuya Mothers of the Disappeared. And we got so much press. And down the line, 3 years later, in parachuted a young woman just out of law school working for the LDF, the NAACP, Legal Defense Fund. She came in there, I said, this woman is like right out of, like maybe she went to Fordham, she works as a waitress, because she presented herself that way. And she kind of parachuted in. We put her in, and she was working for them, the LDF, and she wanted to be involved in this movement because it got so much national press. We were already on the press. I even did Bill O'Reilly's show. And we were so close, and she comes in, and suddenly she takes credit for everything. She takes credit for everything, and it was our fait accompli. We won that case. But it catapulted her into other big positions, and finally, she is now third in line right here at the Justice Department. Her name is Vanita Gupta. And I've said this before here, but I think it's important to remember her name, Vanita Gupta, whose father is Raj Gupta, who owns the 2nd or 3rd largest international chemical business in the world. She's worth $200 million. I thought she was like living in a tenement when I met her. But, so she's there, she's third in line. And she has not spoken out. She worked for the ACLU for a while. She worked at LDF. She's the person who is not speaking out right now. She should resign because she can't go along to get along. She can't say she's just following orders. This is a no-brainer. She should jump right out of it, make a statement, and prevent. Because what they're doing is a coup. Forget about January 6th. This is a coup against this democracy, what's left of it, this fledgling democracy, this fragile ersatz democracy, what's left of it. This is like the final blow, pulling out its most important pillar, the First Amendment. So they're engaging in that. They don't even have any standing now to go after people on January 6th if they are going to do something worse, which is to destroy this democracy. And that's what they're doing. What they are doing is contrary to what that First Amendment, what the Bill of Rights stands for. And I want you to remember that name. Write letters to Vanita Gupta out there, seriously, and call her out on it, because they're going to be out of office in 2 years. She's not going to have a gig. What's she going to do? Well, what did you do? I was in Tuya and I destroyed the First Amendment by supporting the prosecution of Julian Assange. And that's all I'm going to say today. I just want to, again, this is so important to have people out here. It really is, because this is a ground movement from this point on. We can't rely on the politicians, even though Boris Johnson's a former journalist. You know that. Did you know that? No. Yes. Margaret Ratner Concert reminded me of that this morning. But it's a ground game right now. We can't rely, because this prosecution is corrupt. The entire process is corrupt. The politicians are corrupt. It requires getting the word out there and organizing this wonderful event that you put together today. I thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and an honor. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you so much, Randy. And before we go on to our next speaker, if everyone could come up and take a group photo. That way we will have everyone together before we start splitting. And let me remind you all that the first and third Sundays of every month, we are meeting in front of Merrick Garland's house in Bethesda, 5 to 7 p.m. on Sundays, the first and third Sunday, to call for the freedom for Julian Assange. This is pretty close to the Metro. It's a quick ride up the red line.
Wide lens for these. This is great. Come on, everybody. Get in the picture. Hold the sign up. Okay. Oh, you don't want to hold your good signage?
Put his legs with the sun.
Randy, yeah. Ah, there we go. Okay, great. Good. We want to show how many we have here today. Okay, let's wait till Randy gets in there.
For Sophia.
Randy, look. Wait. Okay.
All right, thank you. Up next, I would like to invite Max Blumenthal to speak.
Hey, Max.
Max is the editor-in-chief of The Gray Zone and is an award-winning journalist and the author of several books, including The Management of Savagery. In 2015, Max founded The Gray Zone to shine a light on America's state of perpetual war and its dangerous domestic repercussions. Max is well respected as an activist for his investigative journalism during a time when the voices of dissidents are being silenced and targeted by the U.S. government. He's also, one of those people who actually goes down and covers street actions and interviews people, people who are generally ignored by corporate media. Max broke the Adelson Pompeo CIA UC global spy operation on Assange and all his guests at the embassy. And the Gray Zone covers stories that corporate media spins or ignores. Right now, there's an amazing story on the Gray Zone about how intelligence agencies secretly conspired to put Boris Johnson in office. Max, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Leo. That was probably the best intro I've ever gotten. One of the few mostly accurate ones. My old bio is like, he writes for the New York Times, the Daily Beast, and the Huffington Post. It's like, yeah, in another era, another time. Vanita Gupta. I didn't know, Randy, that she was a former waitress who came down to get progressive credentials and then came to Washington and became an opportunist. Sounds very familiar. Sounds like someone else in town here who's not with us today, who said the Assange case was complicated. One of the most prominent member of the squad, AOC, she said it's complicated. Where's the squad? They're too busy voting for $40 billion money laundering operation to fund contractors and wash our taxes through Ukraine and the Azov battalion. Where are the journalists? We're the journalists. We got any journalists here? We got two of the realest journalists in town right here.
You!
Yeah, give it up. Fischer and Zengas. They're always there. Any journalists here? Some of you can't raise your hands because you're holding signs. There are no mainstream journalists here, and there are never any mainstream journalists here to oppose one of the most malicious attacks on the First Amendment in the Constitution of our time. And it's because it doesn't affect them, because they're stenographers for power. Because they never challenge the state. They are megaphones for the state. They are megaphones for the national security state. So they're not worried that what happened to Julian Assange will happen to them. We are concerned, aside from our human connection to Julian Assange and his family, our solidarity with them, we have to be concerned because those of us who are here are some of what's left of the tradition of real investigative adversarial journalism, and we should be very afraid of what happened here. Julian Assange is not even a citizen of the United States. He's sitting in a prison in a country he's not a citizen of to be extradited by a government that doesn't represent him, that controls the government of the country that he's from. Why? Because he published classified documents and because he embarrassed the Democratic Party. So we do the same damn thing at the Gray Zone. As Leo mentioned, we have a story up that I think is relevant. And since we have some media here, I think we should make some news. I think we should reveal that tonight, unless I fall off a balcony or something, or have a mysterious heart problem, I'll blame it on climate change, I don't know. Or we will publish a story revealing that Priti Patel from the Home Office in the UK, who we are counting on to block the extradition of Julian Assange, is embroiled in a covert research and influence operation directly inspired by principles and methods conceived by former MI6 director Richard Dearlove, and that she is not suitable to rule on this case. And we will provide hard evidence, the hardest evidence possible, to confirm what I just said. Now let's discuss some other components of Priti Patel's background that elucidate her unsuitability to rule on the case of Julian Assange. She is a former board member of the neoconservative pro-war think tank, the Henry Jackson Society. And some of you who follow this case closely know that a former conservative defense minister named Lord James Arbuthnot is also a former board member who sat alongside Priti Patel at this neocon think tank that has lobbied for the war on Libya, lobbied for the war on Syria, lobbied for the war in Iraq. And why is that significant? Because Lord Arbuthnot's wife, Emma Arbuthnot, ruled and made two key rulings against Julian Assange in 2018 on behalf of the British security state, and was eventually forced to step aside due to a quote-unquote perception bias. Well, there should be a perception bias in every single person in the Boris Johnson administration, which is actually, as we've exposed at the Gray Zone, an MI6 regime, an MI6 linked regime, in my opinion. Here's what we revealed if you go to our site now, relying on leaked emails from an intelligence cabal that is still influencing the Boris Johnson administration. That this cabal infiltrated the UK civil service thanks to a centrally placed mole. And this is thanks to the incredible investigative work of Kit Clarenberg, someone we should all be following. Former MI6 chief Richard Dearlove pitched espionage operations targeting the civil service and campaign groups around Brexit. Fake Democratic Party fronts run by CIA veterans were proposed to infiltrate groups opposing Brexit. This cabal that we have exposed at the Gray Zone sought to spy on and disrupt the Prime Minister Theresa May's top Brexit negotiator. Shadowy billionaires funded this effort in total secret. And former MI6 chief Richard Dearlove claimed credit for not only influencing the Brexit vote and the outcome of Brexit, but Boris Johnson's policy on the Chinese telecom provider Huawei. And now the cabal appears to be turning on Boris Johnson, according to the massive tranche of emails that we have obtained. A tranche of emails that in another era, when Julian Assange was free, might have appeared at WikiLeaks. What we've uncovered here through these emails should amount to charges of treason. In at least one case, we have shown that an operative from this intelligence cabal named Evelyn Farr penetrated the British Civil Service and violated the Official Secrets Act by forking over classified documents to the British media under a pseudonym. This is what Julian Assange has been accused of. And what has happened since we published this story? I mean, this is an explosive blockbuster of a bombshell because it's all there for everyone to see. All the emails are there. Nothing. Total silence from the British media. High crimes, treason, violations of the Official Secrets Act, everything that Julian Assange is being accused of, but it's being done by MI6 linked operatives, and the British media doesn't want any of it. Craig Murray, our friend Craig Murray, says this is once in a generation reporting, but this is reporting that we will continue to publish, and we will show that Priti Patel is not suitable to rule on the extradition of Julian Assange because Priti Patel is being controlled by the national security state that Julian Assange helped expose at WikiLeaks. And we need your help to get this story out there. We need to expect Julian Assange in our community here. We should expect that given this background on the people around Priti Patel. And they should expect us. They should expect our opposition. They should expect more people than you see here today. They should expect a big headache. The Biden administration and the people in that building should expect opposition like they've never seen to their anti-democratic, authoritarian, anti-free press agenda if they bring Julian Assange to our community. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Max. And before I continue, I just want to give a quick shout out to Paula Iasella, fantastic activist from Boston who's been organizing Assange rallies here in DC, even though she lives in Boston for the last couple of years. I think she's organized at least a dozen, I would say, if not more. And Paula's the one responsible for these lovely bios that have gotten so many compliments. So thank you so much for helping to organize this here, Paula.
Thank you, Paula.
Up next, I would like to invite Lucy Murphy up again to sing in the Black Workers Center chorus. Lucy Murphy is a DC-based international activist and vocal artist who has sung in support of the Wilmington 10, Palestinian, Haitian, and Central American refugees, Nicaraguan Sandinistas, Chilean anti-fascists, Texas farm workers, striking nurses, unemployed workers, DC tenants, the homeless, and victims of police brutality. To reach and inspire this varied audience, Lucy sings in 10 languages. That's news to me. That's amazing. From 1975, she began her career as a self-produced and promoted concert and recording artist, during which she visited Cuba for the World Youth Festival in 1978, as well as China just before normalization of relations with the US. Currently, she's the founder and director of the Black Workers Center Chorus, and in February 22, Lucy co-organized the Free All Political Prisoners Action right here in DC, right where we're standing actually, and performed with members of the Black Workers Center Chorus. All right, thank you, Lucy.
Gracias, Leonardo. And we're going to do a song that you can hear on WPFW every week. And I know some of you all know the chorus really well. So we're going to start with the chorus. None of us are free.
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 If one of us is trained, none of us are free.
We're going to raise it a little bit. None of us are free.
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 If one of us is trained, none of us are free.
You better listen, my brother.
Cause if you do, you can hear there are voices still calling across the years. They are crying across the ocean. They are crying across the land. And they will till we all come to understand.
one of us is chained, none of us are free. There are people in darkness that just can't see the light. If we don't say it's wrong, then that says it's right. We got to feel for each other. Let our brothers know we're here. Got to get the message, send it out all loud and clear. None of us are free.
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 None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. It's the single truth.
It's a single truth.
We all need to see. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. Well, I swear to you, salvation isn't very hard to find. None of us can find it on our own. We got to join together, spirit, heart, and mind. So all the souls who are suffering know they're not alone. None of us are free. Let's give some more oohs. None of us are free. One more time. None of us are free. If you just look around you, if you just look around you, you're gonna see what I say. That the world is getting smaller each passing day. Now it's time to make some changes. It's time we all realize that the truth is shining right before our eyes. None of us are free.
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 None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. It's the very heart. It's the very heart of humanity. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. None of us, 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 none of us are free. None of us, 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 none of us are free. None of us are free.
None of us are free.
None of us are free.
None of us are free.
None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free.
Our sound system died, but that is the end of the cord connection.
Check it out, there we go. That is the end of the official program, but I would love for anyone who's here who hasn't spoken to, you're welcome, very welcome to come up and say a few words about Julian Assange. I don't know if we have any takers on that. Someone has volunteered. Chuck, if you don't want to, that's all right. There we go. Here's Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy Boylan, and I'm from the Dorothy Day Catholic Worker. Yay! And we are in solidarity with Julian Assange, his family. We want Julian freed immediately. And we condemn the United States government, and we encourage people to do what Dorothy Day did. She refused to pay 1 cent of money to the federal government because it's being used
to torture Julian and torture people all over the world. That's, I guess I'm being cut off. Anyway, today's the 54th anniversary of a great action called the Catonsville
great to be here with everybody. And
she's over there.
That's it.
That's all right, just get close
It's
to
a
the...
prop now, it's not actually a microphone. Speak a little louder. But we're from...
If you can speak to the camera.
Speak to
sorry.
Ford.
Yes, Ford. We're here from NYC Free Assange. We've been organizing and working for Julian Assange since, I guess, the beginning of 2019, out there in the streets, realizing how important it is to reach people. Because people, as you well know, working on this is an issue that has not gotten the kind of coverage that we need from media, from people in the press, so we have to do it ourselves. But people are open to it, to hear the truth and getting more involved themselves in fighting for Julian Assange, because it's easy to say, but it is the fact. If we're fighting for Julian Assange, we're fighting for our own rights, our ability to have freedom of speech, to have press, to be able to assemble, to be out there telling the people the truth about what's going on. And and we're missing what Julian Assange would be giving us right now. His analysis, his ability to see what's going to happen before it happens, putting things in perspective. So we need to fight for Julian Assange because it's the right thing to do for him, but it's also the right thing for ourselves and people who care about freedom, and it's necessary for us to support each other. That's why when we can, we come down from New York to DC to support the people here and to support the people all around the country who are doing the kind of work that's necessary to accomplish the only thing that we can accomplish, and that's to free Julian Assange. Thank you.
Hey everyone, good to be here today with y'all, fellow activists and peace workers. My name is Michael Marceau. I'm the president of the DC area chapter of Veterans for Peace. 52 years ago this month, I was in a military hospital in Vietnam in very critical condition after being blown up by a rocket. And we know that the reason we were in Vietnam was based on a lie. Go look up online about Tonkin Gulf, you see all the stories that got us into that mess in the first place. When Daniel Ellsberg in the early 70s released the Pentagon Papers and spoke out about the truth of why we were there, he was vilified, he was called names, he was threatened with jail time and all kinds of other things that should not happen to First Amendment and journalistic folks. So we know in the military, we know that the first casualty of war is the truth. I would like to propose a corollary to that, in that the second casualty of war are the truth tellers. Daniel Ellsberg was I guess the latest in a long time. My history doesn't go back too much before that, but folks have come along after him, like Bradley Manning, we mentioned him, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Reality Winner, Thomas Drake, Mr. Binney, whose first name I cannot remember. But these are folks who spoke out, lost their job, lost their careers, lost their marriages, and we need to support the First Amendment by freeing Julian Assange, dropping charges against him, and anyone who has been brought up on trumped up charges, and using the Espionage Act is way overboard. We need to drop all these charges, release the folks with apologies from the U.S. government, and let's let them report the truth, because that's what we want to hear, and then we can make decisions on that truth. We can't base our decisions on what we hear from the mainstream media, although there are a few sources who try to do a better job than others, but that's a whole different discussion, and I'm not going to go there. But anyway, thanks for being here, and Julian, we're working for you, my friend.
Mike's a good prop.
Yeah.
I think young people say, hold the mic, or the mic, what do they say, one mic?
Oh, yeah.
Give people attention. I had to rethink, I wasn't late, I just wasn't here. My friend Lou, thank you very much, and Lucy are primarily responsible for me being here. I'm Thomas Platt, I live in Washington, D.C., I've been here for over 40 years, but I'm a Texan.
I'll get him.
Anybody know any Texans?
Yeah.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Okay. All right. So I'm glad you guys got cell phones. Where you can check out what I say. And most of it might be true.
Thomas,
the story is
that's
anyway.
the live stream.
I can't do that.
Okay.
I can't stand still and talk at the same time. You know. Anyway, my point is, it's really good to see you guys here. I was expecting a bunch of young people. So I had a whole nother thought going. It kind of worked. I'm spending most of my time right now organizing for Juneteenth. Who all knows what Juneteenth is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to end the story with a Juneteenth story. Okay, but the point is, we are fragmented by all of these issues. Because a lot of us don't know what we know. You know, we've forgotten that we were brought into the movement through political prisoners. A lot of us were brought into the movement through political prisoners. I myself was a young Texan, about 14 years old. I struggled because I was black. I was born colored. My wife was born a few years later. She was a Negro. And by 1969, we were African Americans. The movement was on. In Dallas, my homeboy, Ernie McMillan, returned from college as a SNCC worker. He didn't go to the Mississippis and the Alabamas. He came home and organized.
To Texas.
He came home to Texas and organized. You know, they busted him upside down 3 ways to Sunday. Put him in jail for walking across the street. Eventually, he ended up in the Dallas County jail. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? A good thing. Who else was there? About 100 other brothers. Political prisoners from the streets. Trumped up charges. Just being young men growing up. But what did they do? Read Malcolm X, Kwame Nkrumah, Frantz Fanon, Pablo Freire. And they were writing those of us in college. They said, have you read this stuff? We were like, no. They teach us out of other books, throw our books away, burn them, and then test us on their books and charge us for it. Sounds like Texas to me. Now they call it tuition, you know, graduate degrees, law degrees. So we thought we were educated. We thought we knew what was going on. But what did we really learn? To struggle, to continue to struggle, the internationalness of our struggle, linking with other people in their struggle. You know, learning how to read the Guardian newspaper, the Workers' Viewpoint newspaper, the CP newspaper, the Social Workers Party newspaper. Because those papers taught us who we were, taught us the depths of the struggle. I encourage you to continue to do what you've been doing for a long time. Thank you very much, darling. I can call you that in public, right? You know, I'm old. I don't get away with stuff like that. People, we remember that we have been on this road a long time. I'm gonna ask Lucy to tune up. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Keep your eyes on the
prize.
Hold on. Be safe. Peace.
You gotta come to rehearsal.
Get the tune
All right,
right.
everyone. We are wrapping up, but I do know that John Curiosity is on the way. Yeah. Let's stick around, listen to John, and in the meantime, let's talk to each other about how Joan
Sallard from Code Pink, DC. I'll talk really loud. It occurred to me that from talking to people who are anxious about other things, that I wonder why the administrations of the past 4, 5, 6 administrations are so afraid of talking the truth. And I think, I'm a married woman, and maybe some of you are married men, you have close girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, and they know the bad side of you, and they know the good side of you. And if you have a good relationship, a trusting kind of relationship, you tell each other or you learn things that aren't so great. And I want to make a parallel here to my government. That you could tell me some things that you've done, because I've seen a lot of things that you've done that are really pretty awful, and yet I'm still here. It's still my government. It's still my country. And so talking about Julian Assange or Ellsberg or anybody else who's telling the truth, and it's uncomfortable, we can handle it. We're grown-ups. We can learn that nothing is perfect. So tell us the truth.
Yeah.
We can handle it. I've seen the film of the shootings, the helicopter shootings. I mean, we were up at Bradley Manning's trial at Fort Meade. I mean, I think I've probably seen it 30 times now. And no, I don't enjoy hearing the helicopter pilots laugh about it, about, well, let's go get this guy. I can handle it. I mean, I sleep at night. There's a lot more I can handle, and I'd be happy if every day there was a big page in the Post, like we admit now that this is what happened. So this is my own little recent analogy, and I thought I'd share it with you all. But we hope that you all will come and join us at the vigils the 1st and 3rd Tuesday. We won't give you the address, but it's in Bethesda. So you contact one of us on email or telephone, and we'll tell you where we're going to be. And we're there the 1st and 3rd. If it's just one person, we're okay. We'll tie one of the banners to the tree and hold the other end. But we welcome you, and Merrick Garland needs to know that we're not going to let go of this issue. We're going to be here no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Microphone's not working.
I know. I want to add a message about another vigil, very important vigil. It's been 41 years now, in front of the White House. It's been there. It's an anti-war, anti-nuclear vigil. It's the longest nonviolent vigil, second longest nonviolent vigil in the world, second only to the one in Australia for indigenous people. The man there who's been there now for going on 30 years, his name is Philippos. He's Ethiopian. He speaks, I think, 10 languages like Lucy. He can talk on any subject on the face of the earth knowledgeably. People come to that vigil from around the country and around the world. And they say, "Are you still here? Is the vigil still here? I used to come here before, years ago." Well, it's still there, every day, 24/7. Oddly enough, the vigil was authorized by no less than Ronald Reagan. It's an ironic twist of history. And the mistake he made, it was a mistake in our favor, was to not put any time limit on the vigil. So it's there every day, every 24/7, through rain and shine, through ice and snow. And people need to visit the vigil and support it. You know, those of us who support it with our support, moral support, but also financial support, need to add to that. There's a small can there accepting donations. No strings attached. The last thing I will add is the website of Covert Action Magazine. You can read the stories we print, over 5 new investigative articles every week on the crimes of the CIA, the U.S. intelligence apparatus. Our website is covertactionmagazine.com. Thank you.
Woohoo! Thank you.
President Biden, for the last 40 years, every time he has run for president, he tells everybody that he's Catholic and that he worships Jesus Christ, the truth. If he really worships the truth, he ought not to persecute the truth by helping to persecute Julian Assange, who told the truth about U.S. government war crimes. Thank you.
Thank you.
right, I think that's it. Thank you everyone for coming.